Welcome to the End of Year Celebration 2018 edition, the first of its kind. This is part 1. I'm your host, Kinglink, and today I hope you're ready to hear about some games. Actually, a lot of games. We're going to do what I'm calling a rapid look. Now, over the past year, I've been reviewing games on Steam. I started my official site on April 23rd, 2018, and since then I've reviewed 84 games. However, I haven't reviewed every game I've played. There's a lot of reasons I don't review a game. Some games feel too short or too simplistic. Some games are uninteresting to me for whatever reason. I might have a conflict of interest for some reason, and it might not be on PC, which is a rule for me. And ultimately, some games just don't have a lot of stuff that I can say. With that said, I've identified 14 games that I'd like to talk about, but have not written an entire review for one of these reasons or others. I've challenged myself here, though. Each game will get exactly 60 seconds of discussion, a video, and a final score. Now these are rapid-fire reviews. I'm going to talk fast. The score is my honest feeling about the game, and it is an official score for me. The fact that these games appear in this list are for many reasons and should never reflect negatively on any of these games. Now here we go. First game, please. Please Don't Touch Anything is a deceptively simple game where an unseen coworker tells you to sit at his terminal and not touch anything. If you follow those rules, nothing happens. Similar to Icy, the goal of the game is to experiment. Press the button and see what happens next. The entire game is about experimenting and doing things differently. I'm going to show you a single ending here, and there are 24 other endings for you to find, and they're all pretty interesting. To find them though is a little hard. There's a lot of little hints everywhere, and around the 10th ending I was stuck, and from there I ended up checking online. You can spend a lot of time experimenting, but there are some really good step-by-step guides online. I'm glad I looked because otherwise I might have stopped at 10. Please Don't Touch Anything can be really short, but honestly it's a lot of fun to see how inventive the creator is. While a lot of time you feel like you have to see the world in his eyes, I still find myself enjoying the game, but I do have to say the price is high. $5 seems like a lot of money for a game that might last an hour or two. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. Good game, but there's not a lot of meat on the bones, and it's a pain if you get stuck. Carcassonne is a rather popular board game that's quite fun to play. It's played by laying tiles on a grid and trying to score points from various moves that require meeple, Eurogaming's favorite non-entities. They're like people, but small and wooden. Carcassonne usually goes for at least $30 in stores, and the good news is that the version on Steam is $10, and it might be superior. Besides an extra $20 in your pocket, you don't have to deal with collecting all the tiles, finding a space large enough to play, and the game scores for itself. Those are huge wins. At the same time, you do miss out on putting your hand in the bag and manually drawing a tile, and the Steam version is really not portable. And it's odd to play a board game with local multiplayer, especially one that has turns as fast as Carcassonne. I will say though, the online setup was a bit of a train wreck. I ended up with the name Setup Sucks, and it's locked in now. You do have to buy the expansions if you want them, and you can't play my favorite version, Hunters and Gatherers, the sequel. But overall, it's a good rendition of a great board game that retains everything good about the original. I give it a 4 out of 5. I recommend it over the board game for new players. Pinball FX 3 is one of my favorite games in this list. I've been playing the series since 2010, collecting tables as I go. I absolutely love it. Pinball FX 3 offers a video game take on pinball. While it is pinball, having it in a digital medium means that it can do a number of things such as teleporting balls, changing gravity, and using visual effects, all to dazzle the user. Pinball FX 3 allows the player to buy tables that they want to play. The price is reasonable, only costing a couple dollars per table, which would probably be a handful of plays in a real arcade. The tables are inventive and different, ranging from a large number of Marvel properties, including Deadpool, Fox properties, Bethesda games, Universal movies, and more. Now there's a number of features allowing you to challenge other players, and some great integrations to keep you competing against high scores from you and other players. It's a rather solid experience all around, and I enjoy it quite a bit. Pinball FX 3 gets a 4.5 out of 5. We might even be talking about it again soon. I'd love to talk more about it, but I'm out of time.
Pressure is perfect. Nurse, ready the clones.
Rituals is a simple game that I picked up as I transitioned from just writing reviews to creating YouTube videos. I still have my written review, and I might release it along with this video. There's definitely an effort put forth in Rituals, but it's not a game I can recommend based on just effort. Much of the game is wandering around different locations and completing relatively limited puzzles. There's only a handful of items in many of the locations, and the game revolves around combining X with Y in the right order to move on. The real problem with Rituals is it's an indie game likely made by one person and then sold at a small price. It's not necessarily an awful game, but it's not one I can recommend for gameplay or graphics. It's also rather short, and all the achievements can be gathered in about 90 minutes. That's the reason I originally played it, but it's just not good enough to spend $5 on. I know someone spent a lot of time and effort to make this game, but it's not for me, and I don't think most people will enjoy it. I give Rituals a 2 out of 5. This is a rough one, but still, I have to admit I never made a game as a solo project, so for some people, this might be worth a look.
Which of these Julia
I'm going to give a
Roberts
quick review for the
characters
Jackbox
would
Party
Jack the
Packs
Ripper
numbered
have
1
been
through
most
3
likely to
particularly.
savagely
If you ever
murder?
played You Don't Know
Aaron
Jack, you know you get a rather
Brockovich,
zany
Vivian
game show where the
Ward,
player has to
Tessa
answer
Ocean,
silly
Liz
questions with
Gilbert.
even sillier answers. Jackbox takes this one step further and adds in a number of mini-games. There's 5 games per pack, and I could take time to review all of them, but that's not in the spirit of this review. Each Jackbox has 5 unique games, and each set is different. The version with You Don't Know Jack are my favorite, but the new games like Fibbage, where you have to lie convincingly, or draw full words like Pictionary and then try to guess what was drawn, are excellent. There's a good variety of games, and it's perfect for small groups. Anyone with a smartphone can play, and most games allow 4 players, with some games even allowing up to 100 players, and being designed for Twitch streams. The smartphone integration is clever, and the games themselves are fun, fast, and engaging. I like this collection quite a bit, but it's a multiplayer game, so it depends on your friends. It's not really made for solo players. I give Jackbox Party Pack, the first one in particular, a 4.5 out of 5. Definitely a fun party game. NBA Playground seems to want to be NBA Jam. You have large-headed and famous players running around a court and shooting baskets in a non-regulation 2v2 basketball game. The problem is, NBA Playgrounds isn't as easy to play as NBA Jam. NBA Playgrounds focuses on turning the simplistic game into more of a simulation. There's shot meters and more all over the place, and it becomes more of a player skill competition, and overall, it's a poorer experience for that. It doesn't help that the game spends very little time teaching the game systems to the player, even with the tutorial. NBA Playgrounds also runs into further problems by adding in a card collection system to earn players, and then attaching DLC to unlock everyone. The idea of collecting players isn't awful. The feeling that the game wants you to start paying more money, especially to earn your favorite team, is. Overall, NBA Playground takes a great arcade idea, adds more rules to it, and tries to get fans. But the people who might enjoy this change are probably already playing NBA 2K, so who is this for? NBA Playgrounds earns a 2 out of 5. Honestly, it's not good. Not good at all. Pinball Arcade is a realistic pinball video game accurately recreating a vast number of tables so players are able to play many classic machines without breaking the bank. It gathers real tables from pinball creators such as Gottlieb and Stern's Pinball, and has had tables from Williams and Bally's, though those licenses have expired. When I love pinball, Pinball Arcade tries so hard to recreate the table. It's hard not to notice how many of the tables are rigged against the user in an effort to gobble more quarters. The good news is that the tables are free play, but you'll clearly see the design philosophies of the arcade industry. At the same time, Pinball Arcade adds in goals, high score tables, and leaderboards for players, adding to the longevity of the game. The tables are more expensive than Pinball FX 3, but the attention to detail and the recreations are so perfect, I still find a lot of enjoyment in Pinball Arcade for its accurate simulation. Pinball Arcade scores a 4 out of 5. It really does a great job accurately recreating the games. Lara Croft is back. After releasing her 3rd game in her all-new series, it's clear we're going to be seeing Lara do many new things. In Lara Croft Go, we find that Lara has become a puzzle game character and must solve an all-new dungeon with a variety of tricks, mostly revolving around her guns and flipping switches, and the ability to throw a spear. This is a true puzzle game with no timing-based puzzles. Most puzzles are based on each step or action Lara takes, the enemies and the environment get a single turn as well. Originally this was a mobile game, and the levels are short to reflect that. It's a fun little diversion, and for a couple bucks it's worth traveling through the decent number of levels provided. The early levels are relatively easy as the player learns the game, but the game does find all new ways to challenge the player in the final levels. Lara Croft Go is a solid game that lasted me at least 5 hours, though I didn't finish it yet. It earns a 4.5 out of 5. Really interesting look on Lara, and honestly, I'm considering picking up Hitman Go and Deus Ex Go as well due to how much fun I had with this one. Armello bills itself as a grim fairy tale board game, and it's right about that. The problem is Armello isn't a very good board game. Armello fits in with the wargaming crowd with a lot of rules and complications, but I feel like it's overly complicated. I played the tutorial 3 times and I can't see a clear line of victory at any time or anything I really do wrong. It doesn't help that the game heavily relies on luck or randomness. This is true of all board games, of course, but good strategy should minimize randomness. You don't know what tile you might pull in Carcassonne, but you can make strong moves with each piece, and that's how you win. Now, Armello quickly confuses new players, giving too many win conditions and not enough examples, and then throws random chance in, which causes the player more frustration. It's not for me, and I really wouldn't recommend this game. I'm sorry, Armello, but no thanks. Armello gets a 2 out of 5. Oh, and there's no online chat, so even if you love wargaming online, alliance building is flat out. Splasher is a game I wrote a short Steam review for, but I'm talking about it again due to my enjoyment of it, and it's a great little platformer with fun art and really nice controls. There's not a lot of story, but the level design is excellent. The progression of the game is equally good, returning to concepts rather than running them into the ground the first time around. In addition, the player can find a number of scientists around and have to rescue them all as collectibles, and there's time trials as well. Splasher's biggest gimmick is the ability to spray different surfaces with 3 types of liquids: water to clean, red goo to stick, and yellow goo to bounce. In a way, it's like a reverse Super Mario Sunshine. It also might look like Super Meat Boy in some ways, and while the controls and some design are similar, it's easier. The only really painfully challenged level is the last, but honestly not every game has to be uber hard. I really like Splasher. The reason it's here is because it's so much fun, I wanted to call it out again, and it's worth a second mention. Splasher earns a very respectable 4 out of 5. Honestly, it's a great game that deserved more attention. PolyBridge is a game where you're tasked with building bridges over water. Bridges that do a great many different things, like transporting loads or drawbridges. The question is how much you want to learn about building bridges, because that's what you need to beat this game. You basically become an architect, though it's an architect only in the simulation. PolyBridge is really a simulation with game rules lightly layered on top. It doesn't mean you can't have fun with it, and there's some amazing designs out there, but personally I feel like I designed the same couple bridges over and over in slightly different designs, all using the magic triangle. At the same time, the tutorial and the manual are a bit weak. They don't teach drawbridges well, for instance, and they're really fast explanations. You're going to have to go online and learn from other sources to gain some real skill in this game. It is a good concept, and if any of this sounds interesting, I give it a 3.5 out of 5 as an official score. However, if you're not that interested in bridge building, which it ends up I'm not after playing a few levels here, the score probably slips more towards a 3 or maybe even a 2.5. It is an interesting game, it's just not for me. TumbleSeed is an arcade game where the player, a seed, has to climb 4 mountains. To do so, he has to avoid holes, enemies, and a great deal of danger while ascending and generating crystals for his different powers, and using those powers. Now, TumbleSeed is colorful, bright, and lovely, but honestly it didn't speak to me much. It looks good, but that's about it. The controls can be frustrating as well. The game is based off of 5 controls, moving the right side up and down, and moving the left side up and down, and the ability to switch types of seeds. It's simple but clever controls. The game is interesting though, reminding me of Labyrinth, the old wood maze game, where you have to maneuver a ball through the maze. The ability to swap seed types to get different powers is interesting, and it works, but I just didn't feel it. The game is hard, and it seems relatively fair, and I did like the first mountain, but I was done with the game after that, and I didn't really feel like continuing the play. I give TumbleSeed a 3 out of 5. It's not bad, but nothing I'm really excited for. And you know, they can't all give me strong emotions. Orwell Ignorance is Strength is the second season of the Orwell game. The original game is excellent and really innovative in a few ways, and this returns to the same world and revisits the same time period. But it's not a retelling, rather a different incident. In many ways, Season 2 falls short. The first Orwell season has you fighting against a terrorist who used bombs. The second has you fighting against some random guy with a blog. The promos talked about focusing on fake news. It's a timely idea with huge potential looking at an official newspaper giving false information, perhaps. However, that's not followed through with. Instead of homegrown terrorism, you get a weaker story about a family squabble. There is good writing and an interesting story, but it's not as good as the first season, and it's a shame because it tries very hard. I have to give Orwell Ignorance is Strength a 3.5 out of 5. You know, it's not bad, just not as good, though I will say the original game is more of a 4, probably a 4.5, so it is a step down. Let's get the crude joke out of the way, as I tell you I love playing with Steven's Sausage Roll. There, I've already said it. Steven's Sausage Roll is an excellent little puzzle game where you have to grill sausage rolls. It's unique, inventive, and clever, and the only reason it's here is I really didn't have enough to say for a full review. A puzzle game lives and dies on its puzzles, and somehow the game has a ton of levels, each with their own aha moment. There's 86 levels here, but very early and quickly the game becomes remarkably puzzling. Each level gives a great challenge, and many levels have something new and interesting for the players to figure out. If you love puzzle games, you'll love this one, but I will say it's one of the hardest, but fair, puzzle games I've ever played, so be prepared to be challenged. Now, it is pricey at $30, but it's exceptionally well done. I give it a 4 out of 5, mostly due to it being a puzzle game for established puzzle fans, and the price, admittedly, is high. I want to thank Joseph Anderson, though, for talking about this game, and I've linked his video about it in the description. And there we go. 14 new reviews just for you. I hope you like the rapid fire format. I know I have. It is a lot harder than I thought it would be, and you've probably noticed a little more production value on this video. More than I was expecting for sure. I've learned quite a few tricks over this week. I'll be honest, the idea here was so that I could talk about a couple games, but I think we might see rapid looks in the future. The fact is, a full review still takes me at least 8 hours apiece, not counting playtime and everything else. So maybe in the future we'll do rapid looks every couple months or when I find enough short games to talk about. If you like the format, please let me know, I appreciate it. In addition, I'm printing this entire script onto my website, thus making these all official review scores for me. I may expand any of these rapid looks in the future, but for now, they are what we have. Coming up next, we've had 98 games reviewed this year. Maybe I should have done 2 more. Well, you know what? I've reviewed 3 Jackbox party packs in 1 minute earlier. I'm going to count them 3 times. That's 100. 100 reviews this year. Absolutely amazing. With 100 reviews down, I've created a list and developed what I think are my top games of the year. I'll give you the main rules now and let you wonder. I have to have written a full review on the website, and all YouTube videos are there, but there are some reviews on the website that don't have YouTube videos. Score doesn't matter. I could just rattle off the 4 games I gave a 5 to this year. TIS 100, Exapunks, Ori and the Blind Forest, and Into the Breach. All 4 are excellent, but I've already scored them. Now I'm choosing games I feel like I want to talk more about or have done something special. The games I'm talking about are the ones that have stuck with me for some reason. I'll give you the full list and the reasons next time. And if you've enjoyed this, as always, please consider subscribing. I'd love to add you to my list of followers, and I thank all my followers who have been with me this year for any part of it. With that said, next time we'll find out which games win my 2018 awards.